check! It's English O'Clock! Ang pag-aaral ng English upang madaling matutunan, bakit hindi natin simplihan? Halika! Manood at makinig sa English Teacher ni Juan!
Kung bago ka pa lang sa channel na to, huwag kang matakot. I made learning English easy for you. Please like, comment, and subscribe. At pakishare mo na rin sa iba para marami pang mga Juan na gaya mo ang matuto. Good day, everyone! It's the beginning of another quarter, the fourth and final quarter. Yay! Come and join me again in this new episode where I will discuss your first lesson about features of academic writing. The target most essential learning competency for this video is distinguishing features of academic writing. Writing is a basic skill that one must learn. And when we say writing, basically this means the process of using symbols, letters of the alphabet, punctuation, and spaces to communicate thoughts and ideas in a readable form. This is the first thing about writing that is taught in school. But academic writing is far more than this. Academic writing is arguably the most important skill in academic contexts, since writing is the main method of academic communication. It is also the most difficult skill for most students to master. So, let's define academic writing. What is academic writing? Academic writing is writing which communicates ideas, information, and research to the wider academic community. Academic writing is a formal style of writing used in universities and scholarly publications. Academic writing follows the same writing process as other types of texts, but it has specific conventions in terms of content, structure, and style. Ito ay isang uri ng formal na pagsusulat na may sinusunod na tamang panuntunan. Ito ay isang uri ng pagsusulat na ginagamit sa mga journal articles, books on academic topics. Gayun din, ang inaasahang estilo na dapat gamitin ng isang estudyante sa pagsulat ng essays, research paper, and dissertation. Academic writing is divided into two types. Student academic writing. This is used as a form of assessment at university, as well as at schools as preparation for university study. Teachers and professors are the ones who read this. The general purpose is to present information to display a clear understanding of a particular topic. Expert academic writing. It is writing that is intended for publication in an academic journal or book. This is used by other experts in the field, and its purpose is to create knowledge. Both types of academic writing, student and expert, are expected to adhere to the same standards, which can be difficult for students to master. Types of academic text that requires academic writing. 1. Essay. A fairly short, self-contained argument, often using sources from a class in response to a question provided by an instructor. 2. Research paper. A more in-depth investigation based on independent research, often in response to a question chosen by the student. 3. Thesis or dissertation. The large final research project undertaken at the end of the degree, usually on a topic of the student's choice. 4. Research proposal. An outline of a potential topic and plan for a future dissertation or research project. 5. Literature review. A critical synthesis of existing research on a topic, usually written in order to inform the approach of a new piece of research. 6. Lab report. A write-up of the aims, methods, results, and conclusions of a lab experiment. 7. Annotated bibliography. A list of source reference with a short description or evaluation of each source. Now, let's talk about the features of academic writing. Academic writing is formal and unbiased. Kapag sinabing unbiased, nangangahulugan ito ng pagiging patas. Academic writing aims to convey information in an impartial way. It is objective. The goal is to base arguments on the evidence under consideration, not the author's preconceptions. All claims should be supported with relevant evidence, not just asserted. To avoid bias, it's important to represent the work of other researchers and the results of your own research fairly and accurately. This means clearly outlining your methodology and being honest about the limitations of your research. Since academic writing is a formal writing, it's important to strike the right tone with your language choices. Avoid informal language, including slang, contractions, cliches, and conversational phrases. Improper. Also, a lot of the findings are a little unreliable. Proper. Moreover, many of the findings are somewhat unreliable. Clear and precise. It's important to use clear and precise language to ensure that your reader knows exactly what you mean. This means being as specific as possible and avoiding vague language. Improper. People have been interested in this thing for a long time. Proper. Researchers have been interested in this phenomenon for at least 10 years. Avoid hedging your claims with words like perhaps, as this can give the impression that you lack confidence in your arguments. Reflect on your word choice to ensure it accurately and directly conveys your meaning. Improper. This could perhaps suggest that. Proper. This suggests that. Specialist language or jargon is common and often necessary in academic writing, which generally targets an audience of other academics in related fields. However, jargon should be used to make your writing more concise and accurate, not to make it more complicated. A specialist term should be used when it conveys information more precisely than a comparable non-specialist term. Your reader is likely to be familiar with the term. The term is commonly used by other researchers in your field. The best way to familiarize yourself with the kind of jargon used in your field is to read papers by other researchers and pay attention to their language. Focused and well-structured. An academic text is not just a collection of ideas about a topic. It needs to have a clear purpose. Start with a relevant research question or thesis statement, and use it to develop a focused argument. Only include information that is relevant to your overall purpose. A coherent structure is crucial to organize your ideas. Pay attention to structure at 3 levels: the structure of the whole text, paragraph structure, and sentence structure. Overall structure. Always include an introduction and a conclusion. Divide longer texts into chapters or sections with clear headings. Make sure information is presented in a logical order. Paragraph structure. Start a new paragraph when you move on to a new idea. Use a topic sentence at the start of each paragraph to indicate what it's about and make clear transitions between paragraphs. Make sure every paragraph is relevant to your argument or question. Sentence structure. Use transition words to express the connections between different ideas within and between sentences. Use appropriate punctuation to avoid sentence fragments or run-on sentences. Use a variety of sentence lengths and structures. Well-sourced. Academic writing uses sources to support its claims. Sources are other texts or media objects like photographs or films that the author analyzes or uses as evidence. Many of their sources will be written by other academics. Academic writing is collaborative and builds on previous research. It's important to consider which sources are credible and appropriate to use in academic writing. For example, citing Wikipedia is typically discouraged. Don't rely on websites for information. Instead, use academic databases and your university library to find credible sources. You must always cite your sources in academic writing. This means acknowledging whenever you quote or paraphrase someone else's work by including a citation in the text and a reference list at the end. Here is an example. APA citation example. In text citation, elsewhere, it has been argued that the method is the best currently available. That is according to Smith, 2019, page 25. Reference list. Smith, J. 2019. Statistical Analysis Methods, 2nd edition, New York, Norton. There are many different citation styles with different rules. The most common styles are APA, MLA, and Chicago. Make sure to consistently follow whatever style your institution requires. If you don't cite correctly, you may get in trouble for plagiarism. You can easily create accurate citations in APA or MLA style using citation generators. Correct and consistent. As well as following the rules of grammar, punctuation, and citation, it's important to consistently apply stylistic conventions regarding how to write numbers, introducing abbreviations, using verb tenses in different sections, capitalization of terms and headings, spelling and punctuation differences between British and American English. In some cases, there are several acceptable approaches that you can choose between. The most important thing is to apply the same rules consistently and to carefully proofread your text before you submit. Maging maingat sa pagsulat ng mga nabanggit. Mukha lamang itong maliliit na detalye, pero ito ay importanteng mga elementong kailangan mong tandaan at matutunan. Academic writing is not personal. Academic writing generally tries to avoid being too personal. Information about the author may come in at some points. For example, in the acknowledgments or in a personal reflection. But, for the most part, the text should focus on the research itself. Always avoid addressing the reader directly with a second-person pronoun, you. Use the impersonal pronoun, one, or an alternate phrasing instead for generalizations. Incorrect. As a teacher, you must treat your students fairly. Correct. As a teacher, one must treat one's students fairly. Correct. Teachers must treat their students fairly. The use of the first-person pronoun I is to be similarly discouraged in academic writing, but it is increasingly accepted in many fields. If you're unsure whether to use the first person, Pay attention to conventions in your field or ask your instructor. When you refer to yourself, it should be for a good reason. You can position yourself and describe what you did during the research, but avoid arbitrarily inserting your personal thoughts and feelings. Do not use phrases like, "in my opinion," "I think that," "I like or dislike." Instead, use the following like, "I conducted interviews with," "I argue that," "I hope to achieve." Academic writing is not long-winded. Many students think their writing is not academic unless it is overcomplicated and long-winded. This isn't a good approach. Instead, aim to be as concise and direct as possible. Mas mainam na gawin itong maiksi at direkta. Iwasan ang paligoy-ligoy sa pagsusulat. If a term can be cut or replaced with a more straightforward one without affecting your meaning, it should be. Gumamit ng mga salitang mas madaling maintindihan. Avoid redundant phrasings in your text, and try replacing phrasal verbs with their one-word equivalents where possible. Improper. Interest in this phenomenon carried on in the year 2018. Proper. Interest in this phenomenon continued in 2018. Repetition is a part of academic writing. For example, summarizing earlier information in the conclusion. Pero, importante din na iwasan ang magpaulit-ulit lalo kung hindi naman ito kailangan. Make sure that none of your sentences are repeating a point you've already made in different words. Academic writing is not emotive and grandiose. An academic text is not the same thing as a literary, journalistic, or marketing text. Though you're still trying to be persuasive, a lot of techniques from these styles are not appropriate in an academic context. Specifically, you should avoid appeals to emotion and inflated claims. Though you may be writing about a topic that is sensitive or important to you, the point of academic writing is to clearly communicate ideas, information, and arguments, not to inspire an emotional response. Avoid using emotive or subjective language. Improper. This horrible tragedy was obviously one of the worst catastrophes in construction history. Proper. The injury and mortality rates of this accident were among the highest in construction history. Students are sometimes tempted to make the case for their topic with exaggerated, unsupported claims and flowery language. Stick to specific, grounded arguments that you can support with evidence and do not overstate your point. Improper. Charles Dickens is the greatest writer of the Victorian period, and his influence on all subsequent literature is enormous. Proper. Charles Dickens is one of the best-known writers of the Victorian period and has had a significant influence on the development of the English novel. So, to summarize this lesson, use this checklist to assess whether you have followed the rules of effective academic writing. I avoid informal terms and contractions. I avoid second-person pronouns you. I avoid emotive or exaggerated language. I avoid redundant words and phrases. I avoid unnecessary jargon and define terms where needed. I present information as precisely and accurately as possible. I use appropriate transitions to show the connections between my ideas. My text is logically organized using paragraphs. Each paragraph is focused on a single idea expressed in a clear topic sentence. Every part of the text relates to my central thesis or research questions. I support my claims with evidence. I use the appropriate verb tense in each section. I consistently use either British or American English. I format numbers consistently. I cite my sources using consistent citation style.
So did you learn something today? Sure ako na hindi ka na nosebleed. If you want more of this video tutorial and learn English in a light speed, huwag kalimutang mag-subscribe at i-turn on ang notification button para updated ka sa mga bagong lessons. Ako ang teacher mo, ang English teacher ni Juan. Class dismissed! See ya!